Hi everybody, welcome to the Tennessee Urban Garden. It's a beautiful day here in East Tennessee. We are going to talk about the 4 different types of beds most people use in their gardens. We are going to talk about raised beds, the no-dig option, the back to Eden gardening, and then also just straight tilling. The first bed we're going to talk about is the raised beds. The first one is raised beds. These are my raised beds. This is untreated wood. Most of my raised beds are 12 inches high. Now my raised beds sizes vary. I have some very large ones and then I have some small ones. You can make and customize raised beds to your liking and your preference. My raised beds actually sit on a slope. So in my raised beds I have a bar in my beds, just at the top, holding them so my beds don't slide. That is not a necessary step for most people, but mine is on a hill, so I need to anchor my beds. Inside my beds, when I first make my bed, I lay down cardboard, and then I put my bed on top of the cardboard, and then around my bed I put wood chips to reduce the weeds and grass runners that want to come up and try to come up in my beds. But inside my bed I will put mushroom compost. I get my mushroom compost from a local dealer. We have Monterey Mushroom in East Tennessee. Now there are a bunch of Monterey mushrooms throughout the United States. Contact your local, or you can look it up online, contact your local retailers and see if they have mushroom compost. It's great to grow in. You always have amazing results. That is what I am going to fill this bed with. That's what I fill almost all my beds with, was mushroom compost. The second type we're going to talk about is the no-dig method. Now underneath this was grass, and all I did was lay cardboard down, put topsoil and compost on top. I'm going to also put more mushroom compost in this bed, and then I put wood chips around the border. This is a great option for people who don't want to spend the money for the wood for the raised beds, which wood is very expensive right now. This is a cheaper option. You can get a load of mushroom compost delivered to your home, and a lot of times it's not that much money for how much you're getting, and it's great to put in your beds. And I would suggest putting a border of wood chips. You can also contact your local tree companies to see if they will drop wood chips for free at your home. Most of them will. Now you can also, I think it's chipdrop.com, where you can sign up to get wood chips dropped at your house, and you have to sign up and tell them your preference of what type of wood you want, and they will just come and drop it for free. The next one we're going to talk about is back to Eden gardening. It's very popular right now. It's similar to the no-dig option, except for they lay either newspaper or cardboard straight on the ground, and then they put compost, some form of compost right on top of that, and then they put wood chips over the top of the compost, and then they separate the wood chips a little bit and then plant their plants in the ground. I personally don't like wood chips in my bed. I like them around my bed to control the weeds, but this is the closest thing I have to back to Eden. I don't personally like it, but I know a lot of people who have had great success with it also. This is about the closest I have to it, which would be the no-dig option, but I don't like the wood chips in my bed. But the next one we're going to talk about is straight tilling. All right, the next one is straight tilling. This bed I used a tiller on, and you can see I left patches of grass I have to get later. In this bed is huge, and this bed is going to be my sunflowers, corn, squash, a couple other things in this bed. So I tilled this up. I'm trying a couple different methods to see which one I like the best. I did put wood chips around the border all the way around, and there is cardboard underneath these wood chips to try to control the grass. I did this right here last year, the tilling method. I didn't like the results of it because the ground got too dry. I just feel like the ground gets too hard too fast, and it does not retain its moisture because there's no covering and it's straight in the sun, so it's baking all day. But a lot of people like this method. They use it completely and exclusively. I'm going to try it again this year to see if I like it. I do have sunflowers planted right there, so I did put a little bit of compost on top of them to help them grow a little bit. But this is, I would say, a more traditional type of gardening, but I personally don't like it. It's not for me, but if it works for you, that's great. Do what works for you and what's best for your family. Here is an example of a smaller raised bed. This one's only about 3 inches tall. It's not very big at all. This was some scrap wood I had left over. And I had some plants that needed to be planted, so my husband threw this together with some scrap wood. It's not the greatest because the weeds, before I had the mulch down, the weeds would go straight over it or under it, and it was just terrible. I just don't like the smaller beds. They're not for me. Now you can use these, and if it's easier for you to use the smaller beds, do what's best for you. Now, as you can see, my garden has wood chips. This is just freshly laid. We just did this 2 weekends ago. We put cardboard underneath and then just dump wood chips all through it in between my beds. And we're going to finish this section right here, and I'm going to get mushroom compost to put in this bed and then my big bed. This helps weeds tremendously. Last year, I did not have this. I had grass growing between my beds, and it was terrible. I could not control the weeds. The runners would go straight up through the bottom of my bed, and I would be pulling weeds, and it would be taking nutrients away from my plants. So this year we decided to put cardboard down and just throw a thick layer of wood chips on to try to control the weeds. Alright guys, that concludes the 4 different types of beds. Remember, we had raised beds, the no dig, the back to Eden gardening, and the straight tilling. I hope this video was informational to you guys. Do what's best for your family. Try a couple different styles out to see which one you like the best. To see what's best for your family, which fits the best. And if you have any questions, leave a comment for me. It's getting really hot out here. It's East Tennessee weather. You never know what's going to happen. And I'll see you next time.